Welcome back to Elevation 44. I'm B. For those of you who are new, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back, family. Today we're going to be diving all into the details of the Virgo full moon, okay? So this moon is actually going to be happening on Thursday, September 17th at 7 a.m. Eastern Time, okay? So that is the exact time that this new moon is going to be happening. Obviously, the energies can be worked with the new moon 2 days prior to the new moon and up to 2 days after. So you really have a nice 5-day span to work with this new moon energy. I will also say before we get started that I am filming on my phone and I am sitting outside. So I hope that the audio quality is pretty good on this. I'm using my earpiece, my AirPod, just so that it can pick up the sound a little bit better than if I was just using the phone by itself. And if you hear any background noise, I'm outside, so I'm just going ahead and just warn you ahead of time. If you are new to working with new moon energy or moon energy in general, I will just go ahead and say really quickly that the new moon is a time for setting your intentions, the things that you want to call into your life. So if you think about it in terms of seasons, the spring would be an optimal time for you to take your seeds and plant them into the ground so that you can, reap the crops and the harvest, like in the, the peak of the summer or whenever that harvest comes into fruition. So the new moon is very, very similar to the spring where we're putting our seeds in the ground. And every new moon has a corresponding full moon that comes 6 months later. And that full moon is the harvest time, the time where you would think of the peak of summer where, your crops are flourishing and, your tomatoes are ripe for the picking and all of that good stuff. So we definitely want to keep in mind as we're working with new moon energy, this is a time for setting new things, new intentions, calling new things into our lives, okay? So that's what new moon energy is in a nutshell and how to work with it, okay? So this Virgo new moon, like I said, is happening on Thursday, and this Virgo new moon comes at a perfect time because after the Leo new moon, right, this is the moon that we need, that comes for that inner reflection necessary after that Leo new moon energy was giving us that big, bold, courageous, creative, expressive energy to dream big, okay? So that was what the Leo new moon was really illuminating for us and us setting our intentions around dreaming big and those big things that we would like to, bring into our lives that we haven't necessarily felt that we could do or was even possible for ourselves, right? So just bringing those and calling those things into our world. But the beautiful thing about the Virgo energy coming right after this Leo energy is that it's going to give us, like I said, that inner reflection, but it's helping us take that optimism and grounding it, the optimism that we got with Leo, and grounding it down into reality, okay? So this is an energy that is grounded, it's analytical, it's focused, and it's practical, okay? So it's coming after the Leo energy because with that dream big energy, we now need a practical plan in order to take the steps necessary to make things come into fruition. It's not enough to dream it up. It's not enough to just have all these grand plans and have all this creativity behind it. That's all well to getting it started, but in order to make sure it comes to fruition and carry it through, we actually need practical plans. And this new moon energy is a time for us to set our intentions in order to create some practicality, some plans in order for us to be able to balance our dreams, our goals with our responsibilities. So we should be using this energy in particular to set our intentions around creating a practical plan, focusing on details and the routines necessary to move our wishes forward, okay? This energy, this Virgo energy, is also a mutable energy, okay? Its quality is mutable. So that means that it's giving us the flexibility necessary to make whatever adjustments we need to make in our own personal lives to make that happen, okay? So again, the timing of this Virgo energy is perfect right after this Leo energy. Okay, so let's talk about some of the current transits that are happening at the time of this new moon. And I'm just getting really, really hot, y'all. I don't know why I decided to sit outside, but now I'm starting to get really hot, so that's why you see me fidgeting. But anyway, some of the transits that are happening at this time, we are really focusing on a couple of them, but the main transits that are happening are around Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter. Now, if anyone has been following astrology, you know that Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto have been causing much chaos when it comes to 2020. A lot of the things that we've seen play out across the world have been heavily influenced by Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter conjuncting in the sign of Capricorn, which rules our structures, our foundations, our government, our big businesses, our restrictions, our time. It really is, our work life. It really is. It was highlighting and tearing down a lot of those things that we knew to be true, and the same old kind of status quo in those in that particular bucket, okay, in those areas. And while they are still doing their thing and they are still coming together to make ish happen and tear stuff down, they're not doing their work, done doing their work yet. This particular new moon is actually creating many harmonious aspects with those three, because with the new with the moon and the sun hanging out in Virgo, which is also a fellow earth sign like Capricorn, there's a lot of harmony or exchange of energy going on there that's actually positive and very helpful for us setting our intentions at this time. So there's a lot of good stuff happening with these three planets, Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter, that are actually positive, that we have not been able to really report on for the entire year. So I'm really happy that we are able to kind of dive into more of the positive aspects of how they're lending themselves to help us set our personal intentions for this new moon. But before we go into that, let's just talk about quickly what the moon is doing with Mars and how it's talking to Mars. So the first transit that I'll talk about is the moon quincunx, and I can never say that word properly, quincunx Mars, okay? So when it quincunx Mars, and Mars is currently hanging out in the sign of Aries, there is an awkwardness here because there are two different agendas by the moon and Mars, okay? So that's really what a quincunx is in short. It's just that the two bodies of energies have two totally separate agendas that are just not on the same page. So it creates kind of an awkwardness or a bit of a tension there, okay? So the moon, which is really about our private life, our needs, our emotions, right? And Mars, which is about action, energy. It's just forward movement, goal focused and oriented type of energy, right? It's just kind of like two completely separate types of energies to begin with. But with the moon being in Virgo in particular, it really wants to take its time to slowly analyze and process all of the emotions, all of your own particular emotions, all of the needs, and all of the details, just kind of on a slow pace and analyzing it until it's perfect, okay? And until it's worked out perfectly in the mind, right? Now, with the sun also being here in Virgo, the sun here wants to meticulously organize everything. Again, back to that, working slowly and methodically until everything is absolutely lined up perfectly. But Mars just wants to take action because that's Mars's nature. And Mars is already frustrated because Mars is currently retrograding in Aries, and it went into retrograde last week, which I spoke about in my weekly astrology report from last week. So if you want to hear more about that, you can check that out. But Mars is frustrated because Mars likes to go. Mars likes to see a target and go after it. What do you mean slow down? We don't have time to think. We don't have time to make plans. We need to just go. That is Mars. And Mars having to already have a seat because of this retrograde, and now this energy with this sun and moon in Virgo, there is a tendency for us to get stuck, okay? So we are already having to slow down because Mars is in retrograde, right? And then we are already in that Virgo energy that wants to go slow and be meticulous and analyze and overanalyze and analyze again, that we can literally just kind of get stuck and never take action, okay? So that is something that we need to keep in mind. While it is giving us the ability to have more of a little bit more of a patient approach because everything is kind of slowed down, it also will be very easy to get stuck there, okay? So I will leave you with this quote: a good plan executed now is better than a perfect plan executed next week, okay? So don't sit there and get so stuck in the details and analyzing and trying to make everything perfect that you actually never make a move, okay? So the next thing that we're going to talk about is the moon will be trining Jupiter, okay? And trining means that there is just a harmonious aspect happening between these two planetary energies, because again, Jupiter is hanging out in Capricorn, a fellow earth sign. And Capricorn, if Virgo is like the energy that wants to make a plan to make everything successful and putting the structures and organizing and putting the routines in place to get everything successful, Capricorn is then going to take Virgo's plans and everything that Virgo organized and really go make it happen. So these energies really just get each other. They're buddies. They work very well together. And so that's why there's a harmonious aspect happening here. Now, Jupiter specifically is really all about our success and wanting to expand things for us, that expansive energy to help us succeed. So this is a time where we can find ourselves being very calculated with how we want to approach success, okay, and how we want to grow, okay? So that is literally a lot of the energy coming in with this particular placement. Another thing is that this is also a favorable time for social popularity and giving our public images a boost. So this, because Jupiter is in Capricorn, which is all about that work life, that public facing self, right? This is, again, lending itself to giving us success in a lot of these areas, because Jupiter wants to see us succeed. It wants to lend its energy and give us that boost in that department, okay? This is also a great time for making new relationships that can lead to successful partnerships, okay? Then the last thing here is that this is just ultimately a great time for putting in the pieces to set up future wealth, okay? So again, like I said, Jupiter wants to see us succeed, it wants to see us win, and it wants to lend its energy and its influence here in this department. So this is a really, really good placement for us, especially as we're setting our intentions around maybe some of the things that we want to do in our career or our work life or in business, or finding the balance between the two. The next thing that we're going to talk about is the moon is trining Saturn, which is also a harmonious aspect, who's hanging out in Capricorn. Now, Saturn is all about our lessons, our structures, our, you know what I mean, our time, our foundation. This is what Saturn is kind of bringing in energy-wise for us. So this is giving us the emotional patience and stability to focus between our personal needs or our, home life and our career, our public image, our work life, right? So this is helping us find a balance between the two and giving us patience. So as we're setting our intentions, we have this energy lending itself to us to help us in this area, okay? So it is giving us a realistic view so that whatever we focus on, right, and calling in will be from a place of balance, okay? So again, that whole thing of setting our goals, that balance of being able to set our goals but also meet our responsibilities. That is the energy that Saturn is lending its influence here with us, okay? So this is, like I said, a lot of great energy between these three planets. Now, the next thing the moon is going to be doing, it's going to be trining Pluto in Capricorn, okay? Again, another harmonious aspect, okay? So there's going to be an increase in your willpower and your psychic perception, and you can find yourself easily picking up on the emotions of others and just others' thoughts as well. So this is a great time to be incredibly perceptive, okay? There is also, with this particular placement, a strong karmic pull, okay? That's almost pulling you in the direction to the your destiny, or the thing that you came here to accomplish and do, and how you came to spend your time here. So if you have found yourself kind of thinking about this, or maybe less, maybe this is a time where you feel a strong pull in that direction, okay? So the things that you're meant to achieve in this lifetime will likely be illuminated under this particular transit. Now, this is also just an energy of positive transformation that can have a great influence in the power that you have over the events and other people in your life. So this is a great influential energy, a great transformative energy. There's just lots of, like I said, lots of positivity happening here with these 3 planets that we haven't had much to report positive things on in 2020. So take advantage of this new moon, okay, and how these energies are lending themselves into you setting your intentions, okay? Now, the last transit I'm going to talk about here is that the moon is going to be opposite Neptune in Pisces, okay? And Neptune's been in Pisces for a while now. It spends quite a few years there. I can't even tell you the particular number. I want to say it's maybe 12 or 14, but don't, quote me on that. But Neptune definitely hangs out in a sign for a very long time. And so it's been hanging out in Pisces for a few years now. But the polarity of Virgo is Pisces, okay? Virgo energy is practical and grounded and stable and just realistic. Pisces is the opposite. It is that dreamer's energy. It is that energy that is very optimistic, very dreamy, very focused on spirituality, versus Virgo that is focused more so in the material world. They're just 2 completely separate, opposite energies, but necessary for each other in order to have a particular balance. You can't be too heavy on one side or too heavy on the other. You need a balance of both. So with the moon being opposite Neptune in Pisces, we have an increased emotional sensitivity that can block your ability to understand or easily become confused about your feelings or others' feelings. And this is also mostly due to your highlighting some of your subconscious fears, okay? Because again, Virgo energy tends to get you stuck in that perfection where you're like, you start to have self-doubt because you aren't seeing it work out perfectly like you would like it to work out, or you doubt the ability to make it happen the way that you envision it happening, okay? This energy with Neptune being opposite Neptune can lead to major insecurity and intimidation and discouragement, and you will be likely, if you are, 1 minute thinking, hey, I can make this happen, this is something I can do, and you're making the plans for it, you're likely to talk yourself out of that, saying, I really can't do this, I can't compete in this way, I can't make it happen in this way. So don't get stuck in that perfection, type of mindset and get hard on yourself, okay? You are better off just putting yourself out there and making it happen anyway, okay? The positive note about this particular transit is that it will give a boost to your creativity and imagination, especially as you're trying to figure out the different systems, routines, the adjustments that you need to make. It'll give you that creative energy and that imagination to kind of make some of those tweaks or to figure out some of those things, okay? Now, the herb that I would recommend you working with this week for this particular new moon, there are 2. The first one is dill, which will help you strengthen the mind. And then the second one is fennel, which will give you a personal boost of confidence, courage, and strength. And that's going to help combat that self-doubt that we were talking about prior. The crystal that I would recommend you working with is carnelian, and carnelian is also great for motivation, focus, confidence, and vitality, especially when we're talking about low energy being possible during this transit because of the Mars retrograde and its aspect to the moon. Definitely using carnelian to help you boost up your energy, but also to do all the other things that I just talked about, right? Now let's talk about some of the rituals. I don't have many, but doing any ritual outside in the earth energy, like just getting out there into nature and grounding yourself in earth and literally just being out in that energy is going to be beneficial with this new moon. So if you can get outside and do any of your rituals outside, that would be most favorable, okay? You don't have to, but it is actually great. And there's also a clarity that comes with being in nature that you really, it's hard to kind of get in other settings, okay? So the first thing that I would say is a writing exercise, because that Virgo energy, Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is the planet of communication. It's the planet of intellect, okay? So this writing is another form of communication, which is a very strong suit of Virgo energy, all right? So a writing exercise is that you can make a list of all of your self-doubts, all of the things that you feel that you only you have in your mind that are keeping you from moving forward on your plans, okay? And once you write all of this stuff down on a piece of paper, the next step would be to burn it and to release it, okay? And if you can do it outside, that's even better, right? Burn it and release it. And as it's burning and it's going to ash and smoke and carrying off, you have to envision yourself actually releasing those doubts that are holding you back, okay? Now, the second writing exercise that I would recommend is making a list of some of the ways that you can adjust your current lifestyle in order to meet your goals, but also meet your responsibilities, okay? So what kind of tweaks, what kind of things that you need to make? Sometimes it's just minor shifts. You don't even have to get too in depth or in the weeds, but just kind of naming or identifying where you can make some adjustments in your current lifestyle to actually help you move towards your goals, okay? And the third thing that I would recommend is a meditation, okay? And setting the intention before you go into meditation to identify the patterns where you find yourself getting stuck or giving up very often as you try to pursue whatever goals that you try to set, okay? Or anything that you're trying to call into your life. Where do you get stuck? Where do you find that you're particularly having the same pattern over and over again? So going into a meditation and asking that those patterns to be revealed or brought to the surface will be very helpful for you as you work with this new moon energy to also set your intentions now so that you don't get tripped up in those same ways. So those are the rituals that I would recommend, and that's really all that I have for you. The next thing that's coming in is that Libra energy, and the Libra energy is perfect after the Virgo energy because we can tend to get in a workhorse mode with that Virgo energy, and the Libra helps us bring in balance. Not only does it help us bring in balance, but it also helps us turn on that charm or that sociability so that we can bring in those supportive relationships that we need to move forward as well. So all of the energies are working hand in hand, and the way they fall right behind each other is actually perfect. And you'll see how the story plays out as each energy comes in next to lend its hand or to give more, add more to the table, okay? So thank you for watching. Happy new moon, happy setting your intentions. Let me know down in the comments below what you're looking forward to with this new moon. And I will see you all in the next one. Thumbs up if you like this video as well. Peace.